I remember being on an elevator at the IDMR Northern Regional Convention in 1995, held in Duluth, Minnesota. And we were at the hosting hotel. And I had gotten onto an elevator. There was a lady already there. And then we reached a different floor. A lady had gotten onto that same elevator. And the lady who was already there on the elevator, she greeted her. "Oh, hi, how are you, Barb?" And they're talking. And she, "Oh, I've been fine. And, how's the kids, blah, blah." And then she said, "Well, are you going to the Southern Regional Convention?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm not sure. I don't think so." She said, "Well, that's the last one, And what she meant was that's the last convention before 1996. See? And this is the kind of mentality, this is the kind of cult, crazy, cognitive dissonance that people were under for this, dark cloud of doom that, your life is over. Just enjoy it. Yep, we're all going to be, in heaven. What a horrible, terrible, awful thing to do to people, because people did not pay their bills, or they, "Oh, well, I can't afford to go." Well, what do you mean? Take out a loan. You can't miss this. Why would you miss this? Maybe you won't be saved, I mean, people like, "Oh, I can't get off work." Well, why are you going to tell your boss to, stick it? You got to make it to that convention. And people did that. People ran up credit cards. People didn't, take care of their responsibilities. And then all this stuff never happened, and they found themselves totally screwed. Totally screwed, because the ministers of the IDMR, the head top dogs, Dr. Harris, Gary Mathis, Burbank Mitchell, those guys were all on board with that. And if they weren't, they should have spoke up, because it was their duty as a watchman to tell the people, "Look, man, this ain't right." But no, they believed it. If they didn't originate it, they perpetuated it. And that's a horrible, terrible thing, because people looked at them as, "Oh, those are eyewitnesses. They walked with the founder. Of course they're right. They're saying it. It's got to be true." What a horrible, terrible, awful thing to do to people. And I don't think the IDMR reputation has ever fully recovered. I've never really been able, that's never been settling in my mind. I've never been able to just say, "Oh, well, that's been a problem all along. What in the hell happened here?" And then instead of just, saying, "Look, man, we're sorry. We were wrong. We told you the wrong thing." No, they couldn't do that, because they're supposed to be Yahshua in a body. No, that's the founder. The founder, Henry Kinley, didn't go anywhere. That's him. I'm talking. I seen guys point to Dr. Harris and said, "That is Dr. Kinley." And so, okay, Dr. Kinley's supposed to have made true predictions. What's this guy doing? What kind of watchman is that? And so what he does is, at the 2001 convention, he tells everybody, "Well, you were complaining." I hear people complaining, saying, "Well, we were telling you that there wasn't going to be a year 2000. That the founder said we wouldn't see 2000. And now it's after 2000. So what about it?" He said, you had forgotten. See, what you should have did is had a day for a year for each day of creation. And you need to add that, so 2006, 2007 would be that seventh or that Sabbath year, and then that would be the ultimate end, is what he was telling. And that was the last session of the Chicago convention that they had. That last, they tried not to call it an international convention or whatever it was, but it was 2001 in Chicago. The last session, Dr. Harris spoke, and that's when he told the people that would be the true end of the age. And then we can read, and we heard, and there's people that witnessed that he was teaching out there on the West Coast, telling the people that 2010 would be the end, because 1960 was, 50 years prior. That made it a jubilee. So you're talking 50 years after 1960 would be a year jubilee, and for some reason he decided that would be the ultimate end. So he just, like I said, he just kept pushing it out, further out. And, and every one of those failed. And people kept listening to this man as if he was the Holy Spirit in a body. And this guy didn't have your best interest in mind. He just didn't want to tell you that he was wrong, and he didn't know what he was talking about. What a horrible, terrible, awful thing. These guys owe people a lifetime. They owe all of those people that they screwed over by telling them all that nonsense. People that decided not to have families, decided not to save for the college for their kids if they had kids, or they didn't get married, or they didn't buy a home, they rented because they thought, why bother them, the world's going to end in 2 years, or they quit their job, or they didn't pursue a better career, or didn't save for their retirement, all kinds of horrible, terrible, awful things. And I said that costs those Institute members, you had about 5,000 people in the membership, and you just do the math. It's in the millions. They screwed the people out of millions of dollars by causing, in losses, by causing them to think total wrong stuff for no reason. They thought they were all going to die. People were raising their children, didn't think that the kids were going to live long enough to have to go to college. I know people personally who told me that they did not save for their kids to go to college, and now they got to come up with the money because the kids wanted to go to, they wanted to send them to college. Why should a place where you're coming to learn the truth do that to you in your life? That's cult stuff, man. And, people don't want to talk about it, but it's a terrible thing. They're never going to live that down.